Well, my friends, it seems that 2025 is going to be the year of the read-along. But before we close out 2024, let's talk about everything that happened in the week up to December 29th, 2024. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer, now also a booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Material Season 3, and the newly released psychological horror film, Dead Whisper. So I always love doing these weekly reading roundup segments because it's a chance to kind of connect and talk about the books that we love, books that we think that each other should read, help each other find more books to put on our impossibly long TBRs. And then of course, I love to also talk about my music projects, some of which are tangentially related to the books that we read. As I mentioned, I've worked on a bunch of adaptations, and so anything I can do to kind of give you a little bit behind the scenes look at how those things happen from my own perspective, I'm happy to do. So if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. And now on to the books. So a fantastic reading week for me personally. I decided to kind of fixate my time between two books, and one ended up taking over the week because I realized I want to give attention to each book that I read, and I don't want to blaze through it. And these two in particular, which I'm going to talk about now. But the first one was called Return to Edan by Philip Chase. Booktube's own Philip Chase. Wonderful Booktube channel, wonderful person, and a fantastic writer of fantasy. So if you're looking for kind of like a new fantasy trilogy to get into, something that harkens back to the fantasy tropes that people really love about a possible chosen one, about the idea of good versus evil, about people who can be led astray by by greed and things like that, but you want it done in a completely different way that has not really been explored in as much depth in fantasy as Philip Chase does. And you could tell he's a lover of the genre because he explores it from a fantasy, an incredibly knowledgeable fantasy expert's perspective. So I was going into this book very curious because the way the second book ended, it felt like it could have been the ending of the whole series. So I was like, I wonder where one would go from here. And man, I am so glad that Philip kind of bucked the convention and really tried to go off on a different direction than one would expect in this third entry, because I gotta say, this was a 787 page book on Kindle and it flew by. I started it earlier this week and I finished it as of this morning, right before I decided to tape it. And I needed a few moments to catch my breath afterwards because it was an incredible journey. And, Philip talks about transcendental fantasy, the idea of, kind of his interest in Buddhist philosophy, Hindu philosophy, the idea of impermanence, about surrendering to the present moment, all these different kind of philosophical ideas that are explored in those two religions. He kind of brings into this fantasy world. And so you see elements of traditional kind of Norse fantasy, but then you also see these different angles that he takes with the story. And I just found it to be fascinating. Dayraven's arc really kind of comes full circle in this, and you get to see stuff that harkens back to the first book. It's expertly done. You could tell how much Philip Chase planned out everything. Yet, in this third book, I found it to be very interesting because I got to the 85% mark, the 90% mark, even the 95% mark, and I still wasn't sure where it was going to go, but in a good way. Because at this point, Philip Chase, his writing is so good, his character work is so amazing, he kind of builds up this wellspring of trust in you that you go, take me where you will, I am down for the journey. And I really felt like that throughout this book. The characters are separated, they're kind of going off in different directions. Some characters are kind of absent from the page. I'm trying to keep this as high level and spoiler free as possible, as I always like to do with these types of reviews, because I want to make sure that people read these books. But, so they're kind of doing their own thing, they're going on their separate journeys. But man, every journey is compelling. You really care. Every time Philip introduces yet another POV, you're like, oh, I'm so glad he introduced it at this moment because I'm excited to see where those characters are going to go and how this is all going to resolve. And I loved the idea of the cyclical nature of war and the evil that humans do to each other, and how, if there's one group of people fighting the other group, the losers never get to write the history books, right? That's always kind of the common idea, and Philip really explores that. So, who is good? Who is evil? And if the evil person gets vanquished, is there another evil to take its place? Is that what humanity is condemned to? Is this endless cycle of war, of fighting each other for the sake of whatever motivates those people? So that was interesting, and he also explores, like, how does one break out of that cycle? How do you navigate that, knowing that that's a possibility, that we're just doomed to just keep doing this to each other? So he explores some really big themes, but he does it in the context of characters that feel grounded. So you really, every side character I really got to know intimately, and you get to know their motivations, what drives them, the people they love. I gotta say, this was my favorite book in the series. I mean, I keep gushing about the series because I want more people to read it. I really truly feel that this is one of the best modern fantasy trilogies I've ever read. And I've gotten a chance to read quite a few in the last 4 years, so I just want to make sure that people know all about the series and the wonderful characters. And God, I gotta say, Philip's writing his prose is incredible, because there's stuffy prose that kind of starts to feel like it's a little self-congratulatory, and it's like, who are you writing this for? Are you writing it for your audience or yourself? That kind of thing. Never feels that way in this. Every word, every sentence is carefully chosen. It's beautiful. It's poetic. It's grandiose, but it never feels anything more than grounded. Like, it's still very accessible. And that's a very hard balance to strike. I mean, you could tell this guy knows his writing chops and his genre. So I don't know. I can't stop gushing about this book, because I really truly believe that more people should read it. So I'm linking these below. I'm going to link each book in the trilogy below in case you want to take a look at those as well. But Philip, man, thank you for writing this series and for allowing us to explore this world. And on a side note, I'm really excited now to be able to dive into the music of this, as I'm going to be working on the official main theme for the trilogy in time for the Broken Binding releases. So I'm so excited for that. And now I have all the info. I really feel like I can kind of track these arcs as I dive into the music. So thanks again, Philip. And as far as what else I've read, so this has been a great reading week, because I got a chance to dip back into a book that I had left on the sidelines a little bit because of Wind and Truth. I'd wanted to finish this in November, but unfortunately it was not to be. But it was not for lack of liking it. It is The Crimes of Rooker Flynn by A.R. Witham. A very different tone compared to, the Edan Trilogy. And I actually really like that, because they balance each other out. This has got a lot of wit and humor as well, but it's a little bit more lighthearted, yet the stakes are high. It's a little bit more lighthearted, even the way it begins. I'll just say that this is the first couple sentences of the book, so no spoilers here or anything, but it talks about how this family, like, their dad dies, and everyone's celebrating because this guy was like an abusive POS, So it just kind of sets the tone for the book automatically. And he has these different storylines going on, and they start to converge. And A.R. Witham does it really deftly. Like, you never feel dizzied, but you also feel like, where is this story going, in the best possible way. So I really love the setup of this book, and I'm excited to kind of continue on the journey for this. So also leaving the link for this down below, if any of you are interested in checking out this book. It is kind of like a pirate fantasy. It's got like an adventure on the high seas feel. It's got really good stakes. It's got a lot of spiders, as evidence from the cover. And I really love his grounded writing style as well. Like, it just feels like the words fly off the page. So the only reason I haven't finished it this week is because I wanted to give full attention to Return of Edan. So that brings us to, what am I going to read this week? So I have 3 days left in the year as of this taping. So today and up till the 31st, I'm going to plow through this guy, finish him off, and really just dive in fully, so I can kind of get Rooker Flynn's character, Jack's character. I'm like really looking forward to kind of spending more time with them. So A.R. Witham, Andy, thank you so much for sending this to me, man. I'm so glad I'm finally able to get to this, and I'm really enjoying the journey so far. I can't wait to read the other book. I think it's called Blackjack, maybe. I forget what it's called. Let me quickly look if it says in here. The Legend of Blackjack. So I want to definitely read that one after I read this. So try to slot that in at some point in the year. But definitely check this out if you have not. So what else am I going to read? So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this coming year, which is going to be on Wednesday, starting on Wednesday, is the year of the read-along. I'm doing 4 read-alongs on the channel. One is kind of the official channel read-along that's going to have more content on it. And the other 3 are more of the soft read-along. So I kind of want to start on all 4 of those books, actually, if I can, without overloading myself. So I'm going to try to read like a couple chapters a day from each book or something like that. Or maybe I'll see, you know, if one book really takes off for me, I'll kind of plow through that one and then focus my attention on the others. But those books are, the first one is the official channel read-along, and that is Malazan, Book of the Fallen, the 10 Very Big Books. And the first book is called Gardens of the Moon. So I'm going to be starting that January 1st. I'm so excited to start with a bunch of you. We have a bunch of people on that read-along. So if you want to join, by the way, the read-along, you can join us in the Discord channel down below, which is kind of the springboard for all these discussions. And if you want to have a bigger chapter-by-chapter deep dive, which we are also doing, we are doing it on the FABLE app. So basically, the advantage of the Discord channel is you can kind of talk about things section to section. It's also a springboard to other read-alongs and other things you might want to be involved in. And then the FABLE app, it has different clubs that I've set up for each read-along. So Malazan Book of the Fallen is on there, and Gardens of the Moon is on there, so we can go chapter by chapter and chat about it there. So that will be really, really fun. So really excited to kind of join in on the train with that with you all. And then the second book I'm going to be reading is also part of that read-along, a soft read-along, and that is book 1 of the Wars of Light and Shadow series by Janny Wirtz. Now, if you know, I read The Gallant in December, absolutely loved it, one of my favorite fantasy novellas of all time, and I'm looking forward to continuing down the Wars of Light and Shadow saga and read more of Janny's beautiful writing. And that's the first book, is called The Curse of the Mistwraith. That's going to be the one that we're going to be starting in January. So we're reading these every other month. Again, you can find it on the Discord FABLE app. And really looking forward to taking my time with this one, because her writing is very rich, accessible, but very rich. You want to spend your time, slow down, really kind of ingest what she's trying to say, because I think that's the secret sauce to getting through, getting to read her books and experience her work, is to allow yourself to take the time it needs. So I'm looking forward to taking my time with that one. The third one is another read-along. See the trend here. And it is the Matthew Corbett series by Robert McCammon. So the first book we will be reading is called Speaks the Nightbird, which is the first book in that. It's a historical fiction series, slightly different from the rest of the fantasy ones on this list. And it is about Matthew Corbett, who's a private investigator in the year 1699, I believe. And he notices that this woman is being accused as a witch. He believes she might be innocent, and the story starts to unfold. So there's mystery as well as historical fiction. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. It'll be a nice counterbalance to some of these more epic, dense fantasy works. So please feel free to join us. Again, Discord FABLE, that's where it's at, down below. And then the fourth and final one. So this one, I don't know if I'm going to, I don't want to overload myself. That's one of my New Year's resolutions this year. So I'm going to try to maybe start this one, or I might just save it for the following week. But it is The Fall, the novella in The Bound and the Broken. So I'm giving us a month to read this, because some people want to be involved in multiple read-alongs, don't want to overload anyone, right? So the whole point about this is to read great books, read many books with a lot of people, and have fun doing it. So that's kind of the idea. So I'll see if I can slot in The Fall. It's short, but maybe I want to read it all in one burst, and maybe I'll save it for the following week. But that's kind of on the maybe pile for now. So let's talk a little bit about this week on the channel. So this week on the channel, we are officially at, as of this taping, 933 subscribers. A bunch of you have reached out to me on Discord, through the comment section. I've gotten a chance to have great conversations with you all. I'm really looking forward to kind of deepening those conversations and maybe rolling out a Patreon in the new year. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to structure that, but I'll keep you all posted. If you're interested in anything like that, let me know in the comments as well. I would love to gauge interest, because if it's not something that people would want, then I don't want to overload you all with content. But that's a way maybe we can have some regular discussions on Zoom as well, once a month or something. And maybe I can let you know more of the inside scoop on the process of me scoring some of these adaptations and stuff. So ideas are flowing, but let me know what you think about that. And then, as far as the content for this week on the channel, I did a reading roundup, which you might want to check out up here. This one I was particularly proud of because I got a chance to talk about two books I finished in that week, which was The Gallant, the Janny Wirtz novella, and then Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. So if you want to hear kind of my overall thoughts on those, let me know up there. If you want to know also a deeper dive into Wind and Truth or the Stormlight Archive in general, let me know in the comments as well. I'm trying to think of more content I can do for you all, but I don't want to do stuff that you don't want to see, obviously. So let me know if that's of interest to you. But yeah, I'm very excited about that. And then, of course, I did my January TBR video where I explore the series and kind of the read-alongs and other books that I actually want to read in January in addition to those. So check that out up above. So let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen on the channel this week. So you're presumably seeing this on Monday morning, and this is the reading roundup. So on Wednesday, which is going to be on New Year's Day, I'm going to release the official January 1st kickoff video for all these series, where I'm going to do a little bit of a pitch on each one and kind of sell the series to you all and see if you want to join any more read-alongs. So, I'll keep those Discord channels. I'll update all those. I'll update the FABLE app. So everything is ready to go January 1st, midnight. And you could start at 12:01, champagne glass in hand, and read. Because that's what we do, right, book lovers? But I'm excited for that. And then on Friday, I'm going to try to do a tier list video of every book I read in 2024. And after Crimes of Rooker Flynn, I stand to have read 50 books this year, which is the most I've ever read in a year. And I was looking at the average book size. It's almost 600 pages each. So massive amounts of reading this year. And it was no small part thanks to you all. I started this channel in April. I thought, okay, my reading will probably go down this year because, making content like this, editing it, making the thumbnails, all that stuff, chatting with all you wonderful people. It's a blast. I love it, but it takes time, right? So I thought, okay, maybe this might be a lighter reading year for me. And somehow I read more books than ever. So, I don't know how that works, but maybe making a channel can be a time refunder as well. So I'm looking forward to putting that out on Friday. I'll keep you all posted when that's happening. And then let's talk a little bit about the music front. So not that much happened, but I have a meeting tomorrow on a possible feature film. I'd kind of submitted a demo, I think I mentioned to you, and it seems like they want to kind of take the conversation further. So let's see how that goes. I always say until the check clears the bank, none of these things exist. It's just nice to have those conversations and see where they lead. But the second thing I'm going to be working on pretty heavily this week is the Edan theme. Now that I have all the info I need, I'm going to kind of go full speed ahead on that and try to get some stuff to fill up. So I'm excited to be able to show you, what we come up with in this collaborative effort. So that's the second thing. The third thing is I'm going to be working on the fixes for the Conduit. Conduit is this short film proof of concept that for a feature that I produced and composed on, and I kind of submitted the first draft right before the holidays to Connor. He really liked it, and he had some notes to make it even better, so going to kind of go through those notes as well. This week has been a lot of just like playing on my drum set here, just exploring music here and there, getting my single ready for release on January 3rd. So if you don't know, I'm also a big fan of like early 70s singer-songwriters, classic rock, all sorts of stuff like that, and that stuff is in my DNA, so in addition to orchestral fantasy music, I love writing that kind of stuff. And actually, a lot of those artists were influenced by fantasy books. You see, half those songs are about Lord of the Rings in some shape or form, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to putting out a song called My Year on January 3rd. So if you're interested in that and you want to help me kind of get it out into the world, you can feel free to share the link. It's a pre-save link that's below. And then, of course, when it's out, I would so appreciate you all listening. And let me know if you like it or even if you hate it. I would love to know in the comments, like, some honest feedback because, I do music for me and I do it for all of you. And I would love to know what you all think of it. And it's one way to help support the channel if you like this kind of content and stuff like that. So let me know. I know this was kind of a longer weekly reading roundup, but I had a lot to say and there's a lot of things on the horizon. So let me know what you think about this video. Let me know, if you read anything really cool this week that you want to talk about. And let me know about, which read along you're planning on joining. And feel free to just start conversations in the Discord. Don't be shy, just come by, say hi. We have a bunch of readers there. We have 45 strong now in the Discord. and a bunch of people who really love books and, you know, want to help foster each other's reading journeys. There's people who are beginner readers, there's people who are massively advanced readers, all in between, you know, and there's people who are Malazan veterans. I guess they've read the whole series and they want to kind of help just be there and support. So really wonderful community we're growing here. So feel free to like, subscribe this video if you like what I do, and I'll see you on the next one, and I'll see you in 2025. But until then, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. I'll see you next time. Take care.